Tim has gone under a multitude of names throughout his time on the internet, such as Dogslot, Mate Pups, and Winlock Tim, among many, many others we'll soon come across. This guy is by far the most heinous and downright evil person to be caught up in the zoo sadist leaks. Known for bragging about cutting open small animals and proceeding to do said actions with them in grotesque detail, and even had a real-life experience with Snake Thing at one point in time as well. We'll get into that stuff later, but for now, let's start this story from the very beginning, first by cutting into all those online aliases and coming up with his real name, Tim Amoroso. Tim's internet presence goes back to the very beginning of it in the 90s, known for posting a guide called Bitch Training under the alias Dog Dude, and given the context, it involves explicit detail on how to get your female dog ready for the act. He would frequent secret zoophile meetups with other unknown individuals throughout these years, and at one point even got himself a golden retriever named Mandy. On Beast Form, he would tell a story about how he lost at an airport one day that on the surface seems tame enough like any normal person who just lost their animal, until he revealed later with Snake Thing that he actually married her in a Wiccan wedding in 1998, sending a picture of how that went alongside their talks about it. He would even make a post about losing his dog Farquhar, in which he explicitly states that he won't cross the Rainbow Bridge to meet them ever again, showing he's well aware of the evil acts we're about to go over. Tim liked to do a multitude of things to animals that don't need heavy explaining, but he would do said things that animals wouldn't expect, such as rats and bunnies. He even seems to have a specific interest in baby animals too, such as one time when an incident happened and the puppy ended up paralyzed because of him. He even has an interest in necros, sending pictures to a group chat of him and an unknown animal most likely doing acts with it, specifically stating that it's better to do it with the fresher ones as well. This would of course fall in line with his puppy interests, stating how they're the best out of all dead animals and how he likes their smell so much better, and even says that he eats the pieces of the victims when he's done with them, giving detail on his preference on how to cook them up for later. Oh, but don't worry everyone, Tim only does these things with drugged up animals instead, even saying that he doesn't get off to inflicting unnecessary pain to them, except when someone else does it of course, because that's a huge shocker for us to see. Other users in the zoo leaks will talk about a video they enjoyed, which starts off with a dog being hung from a tree as it twitches around, before it cuts to the next part with it now limp and hanging aimlessly. A man comes into frame and proceeds to engage in acts with the dead animal for viewers to enjoy as it finishes up in expected fashion. This video is called Hung Bitch, and while the man seen in it wasn't Tim, he was the one who recorded and edited out for distribution after marrying his dog Mandy in 1998. As the 2000s came around, Tim would make an account in Beast Form under the name Rainsters. Tim would produce videos with his dog Chunky, becoming so well known people would recognize the dog in pieces of media that would come out. He would show his appreciation for those that enjoyed his works, and even made a post saying that he would help shoot videos for those in the Pacific Northwest of the United States or anyone interested. Despite this minor celebrity status by making tamer pieces of content, Tim would still make videos torturing
as we saw in the last
video to fulfill his dark desires. These videos would spread around the dark web and eventually made their way to a zoophile vigilante group who quickly found out his identity by cross-referencing specific details seen throughout. They would get him to confess being the one behind these sadistic videos, but instead of turning him over to the police, they will let him go after getting him to promise to stop. To the surprise of no one, Tim didn't stop because he would go back to doing what he did before like nothing ever happened, which led him to getting caught once again. This time was a bit more documented however, as one of the people that caught him was Douglas Spink aka Fausty, a known zoophile and former host of the Zooier Than Now podcast. Doug would even talk about this situation in detail on his Twitter account, saying how they caught him a second time and they gave him a clause in their next promise, that being if he ever got near a dog ever again there would be no more chances, saying it was a zoo community thing to try and give him another chance. As expected, Tim would go back to his wicked ways once they let him off again. Doug would say some more ominous and edgy stuff about how a bunch of people know his name and identity and whatnot around the internet. Stuff about how it was his own failure to let him walk away for a second time back in 2009. And ends with a whole bunch of edgy posting and how he's gonna do whatever he can to spread the word around about how Tim is evil and whatnot. After Tim was caught this second time in 2009, he dropped the name Rainsters entirely and fled from the internet without a trace. Tim will return to the internet on September 12, 2014, making a Reddit account Mate Pups in which he would make a page called r/innocent victim reports. It seemed to be a simple page dedicated to posting about criminal activity akin to a true crime subreddit at first, with a couple of posts pertaining to exactly that. That is, until you start to read the captions themselves. As time progressed, they'd become a lot more carefree in attitude with an almost jovial tone to them, and once people found out it was Tim behind the post on the page, it became pretty clear this wasn't any true crime subreddit, but a page.
Alright.